6 months after the battle, Dae-ho Kim stood at a big window on the ship and watched the sun rise over their new planet. Kepler 442b was beautiful, with blue oceans and green land that looked almost like Earth. The first human cities were already growing on the surface below, but the planet was not just for humans anymore. Ships from many different species were landing every day, bringing people who had escaped from the old Kavari Empire. Word had spread quickly across the galaxy. The humans had broken the empire that ruled through fear, and they were offering something new to everyone. "Ambassador Kim," a voice said behind him. Dae-ho turned around. He still felt strange being called ambassador, even though that was his job now. He was the first human ambassador to all the former Kavari territories, helping to build a new kind of space government. The speaker was Veltar, a creature that looked like a mix between a bird and a lizard. His people had been slaves of the Kavari for 300 years before the humans came. "The council meeting is about to start," Veltar said. "The Kavari representatives have arrived." Dae-ho nodded and followed Veltar to the meeting hall. It was a huge room filled with representatives from 40 different species. Some were former Kavari slaves who had been freed when the empire fell apart. Others were Kavari themselves trying to find their place in a galaxy that no longer feared them. Commander Thekzan was there, looking very different from the proud warrior he had been 6 months ago. He had sent the message that So Young had demanded, telling the Kavari home planet that humans were not to be attacked. But the message had done more than just protect human colonies. It had started a revolution. When the Kavari people learned that their unbeatable military had been defeated by a single human colony ship, the fear that held their empire together had broken like glass. Lower classes had fought back against upper classes. Conquered species had declared themselves free. The empire had collapsed in just 3 months. "The trade agreements are ready for signing," Thekzan said quietly. His pride was gone, replaced by something that looked like respect. "My people will provide engineering services in exchange for human protection against space pirates." "Good," Dae-ho said. "But remember, this is a partnership, not a surrender. We are not here to rule anyone. We are here to make sure nobody rules through fear ever again." That was the foundation of the Terran Commonwealth, the new government that was growing from the ruins of the Kavari Empire. It was not based on fear or conquest. It was based on cooperation and helping each other. Any species that wanted to join was welcome, as long as they followed one simple rule. No civilization should ever rule through fear again. So Young Choi had become the Commonwealth's first president. She had moved her office to the planet's surface where she could work with representatives from all the member species. Her biggest challenge was not fighting wars, but preventing them. Many species wanted revenge against the Kavari for centuries of cruel treatment. "Revenge solves nothing," she told the council during one difficult meeting. "The Kavari Empire is gone. The people who created it are either dead or have no power now. We need to focus on building something better, not punishing the past." It was not easy. Some species had suffered terribly under Kavari rule, but humans had a strange talent for getting other species to work together. Maybe it was because humans understood what it was like to be afraid of something bigger and stronger, or maybe it was because they had proven that even the scariest predator could be defeated if you were smart and stubborn enough. The Kavari themselves were adapting to their new situation better than anyone had expected. Without their fear-based culture, they turned out to be excellent engineers and builders. Many of them joined the Commonwealth willingly, grateful to be free from a system that had made them live in constant terror of their own leaders. "It is strange," Thekzan told Dae-ho during one of their meetings. "My people were so focused on making others afraid that we never realized how afraid we were ourselves. We feared our bosses, our enemies, failure, weakness, everything. Now for the first time in our history, we do not have to be afraid." "Fear can be useful," Dae-ho replied. "It keeps you alive in dangerous situations. But when fear becomes the foundation of your whole society, it makes you weak. You spend all your energy controlling people instead of building something worth having." The Commonwealth was certainly building something worth having. Trade between species was creating wealth that the Kavari Empire had never achieved. Scientific cooperation was leading to discoveries that no single species could have made alone. And most importantly, the younger generations of all species were growing up without the constant fear that had poisoned their parents' lives. Hye-jin Park had become the Commonwealth's Director of Communications. Her job was to stay in contact with all the member worlds and coordinate responses to threats. She had also taken on another responsibility: staying in touch with Earth. "I just got a message from the new Busan," she told Daeho during their weekly meeting. "They will arrive next month with 50,000 more colonists. Also, Earth has officially recognized the Terran Commonwealth and is sending diplomats." "Any news about the other colony ships?" Daeho asked. "The new Inchan met a group of space pirates last week," Hyojin reported. "They handled it the same way we handled the Kavari. The pirates are asking for peace talks now." Daeho smiled. The same thing was happening all across human space. Every time humans met a species that ruled through fear, the result was the same. The humans did not surrender, did not negotiate from weakness, and did not give up. They fought until their enemies understood that fear was not an effective weapon against humans. "How many species have joined the Commonwealth this month?" he asked. 12 new members, Hyojin replied, "including the space pirates if their peace talks go well. That brings our total to 93 species across 47 star systems. It was amazing progress for just 6 months of work. The Commonwealth was growing faster than anyone had expected. Species across the galaxy were learning that there was an alternative to ruling through fear, or being ruled by fear." As Daeho prepared to return to his office, Thekzan approached him one more time. "Ambassador," the former cavalry commander said, "I have a question that has been bothering me." "What is it?" "Your species could clearly conquer the galaxy," Thekzan said. "Your fighting methods are superior. Your technology adapts quickly. Your people are fearless. Why do you not simply take control of everything?" Daeho thought about the question for a moment. Many species had asked him the same thing over the past few months. "Because," he finally said, "we learned a long time ago that the best way to be safe is to make sure everyone else is safe too. If we conquered everyone, we would have to spend all our time keeping them under control. But if we help everyone build better lives, they become our friends instead of our enemies." "And this works?" Thekzan asked. "Look around you," Daeho said, pointing to the meeting hall where dozens of different species were working together peacefully. "Does it look like it is working?" Thekzan looked around at the scene. Representatives from species that had been enemies for centuries were sharing ideas and making plans together. Former slaves were working alongside their former masters to build something better than either had ever imagined. "Yes," he said quietly, "it works." That evening, Daeho returned to his quarters and wrote his weekly report to Earth. He wrote about trade agreements and diplomatic successes, about new members joining the Commonwealth and old enemies becoming friends. But at the end of his report, he added a personal note. "The Kavari ruled through fear for thousands of years, and it worked until they met humans. Now we are building something based on hope instead of fear. It is harder work, but the results are better. The galaxy is becoming a safer place for everyone, including us." He sent the message toward Earth, knowing it would take years to arrive. But he also knew that more colony ships were on their way, carrying more humans who would never surrender to fear. The age of ruling through fear was ending. The age of cooperation was just beginning. And at the center of it all were humans, the species that had learned to hunt the things that hunted them, and who had decided to use that ability to protect everyone else, instead of conquering them. The Kavari attack began when the ship's clock showed 6 in the morning. 20 alien ships surrounded the New Sol and fired every weapon they had. Bright energy beams lit up the darkness of space as they hit the human colony ship again and again. Commander Thekzan expected the fight to last 10 minutes. That was how long it usually took for other species to give up once they saw they were outnumbered. The battle lasted 6 hours, and by the end, the Kavari were the ones who were afraid. The humans had turned their colony ship into something the Kavari had never seen before. It was a fortress that fought back. Every hallway had traps. Every room had people with weapons waiting. When Kavari soldiers tried to board the ship, they found themselves in a maze of ambushes and surprise attacks. Dong-Hyun-Oh had been a soldier on Earth. He was supposed to protect the new colony from wild animals and natural disasters. Instead, he found himself leading groups of farmers and teachers against alien invaders who had never faced real fighting before. "These bug things do not know how to fight," he told his team as they prepared another trap. "They are used to enemies who give up right away. They do not know what to do when someone shoots back." The Kavari boarding parties were confused and scared. Their usual plan was to land on an enemy ship, spread fear chemicals in the air, and watch the crew surrender without fighting. But the humans had sealed all their air systems. The fear chemicals did not work, and the humans were not surrendering. Instead, they were hunting the Kavari through their own ship. Fall back. Retreat! A Kavari squad leader clicked into his communicator. The humans are everywhere. They attack from behind, from above, from rooms we already checked. That is impossible, Thexan replied from his command ship. Stay where you are and fight. We cannot stay in places that do not exist anymore. The squad leader screamed. These creatures do not fight like civilized beings. They crawl through air pipes. They hide in walls. They attack and disappear like ghosts. The Kavari were experiencing human guerrilla warfare. Humans had spent thousands of years learning how to fight enemies who were bigger and stronger. They were very, very good at it. But the real shock came when the humans stopped defending and started attacking back. Yunbi Lim led the first human counterattack. She took 12 armed shuttles and attacked the closest Kavari ship. The Kavari expected her to target their weapons or engines like any civilized species would do. Instead, she targeted their life support systems. Hull breach in Section 7, a Kavari officer reported. They are cutting through our air recycling systems. Why would they attack that? Thexan demanded. He got his answer when human soldiers poured through the holes Yunbi had created. The Kavari found themselves fighting room to room, battles inside their own ships against an enemy that seemed to know exactly how to cause the most damage with the least effort. Dong Hyun's tactics were simple and brutal. Do not try to capture their ships, Hwani told his boarding teams. We are not here to take prisoners. We are here to make sure they cannot hurt our families, clear every room, break every system, and move to the next ship. The Kavari had never experienced war like this. In their entire history of conquest, no enemy had ever boarded their ships and fought them in close combat. Other species either gave up from far away or died quickly when outnumbered. Humans did neither. They fought for every room, every hallway, every inch of space, and when they took a Kavari ship, they did not try to use it. They broke it completely and moved on to the next target. This cannot be happening, Thexan screamed at his officers. One primitive ship cannot defeat 20 advanced Kavari vessels. Sir, his communications officer said nervously, we are getting a signal from the human ship. Put it through, Thexan snarled. Na Young Kim's voice came through clearly. She had spent the last several hours breaking into Kavari communication systems, and she had discovered something very interesting. Hello, Commander Thexan, she said cheerfully. This is Na Young Kim, computer expert. I have been listening to your conversations with the Kavari home planet. Very interesting talks you have been having. You cannot break our secret codes, Thexan protested. Oh, your codes are pretty good, Na Young admitted. But you made one mistake. You thought no one would ever try to break them. You got careless. Also, I have been broadcasting your defeat to every Kavari world in this area. Thexan felt something he had never experienced before. Pure panic. What do you mean, broadcasting our defeat? Well, it seems like your whole empire is built on the idea that the Kavari cannot be beaten, Na Young explained. But right now, species all across Kavari space are watching video footage of humans capturing your ships. They are seeing your soldiers running away from human fighters. They are hearing your officers scream about how they cannot fight these crazy human creatures. Stop those broadcasts right now, Thexan demanded. I am afraid I cannot do that, Na Young said. You see, we are not just fighting you. We are fighting the idea of you. We are showing everyone in your empire that the big scary Kavari can be beaten by humans with homemade weapons and bad attitudes. What Na Young had discovered was the secret weakness of the Kavari Empire. Their whole civilization was based on fear. The upper classes ruled the lower classes through intimidation. The military controlled conquered species through terror. Everyone was afraid of someone else. But now, for the first time in Kavari history, their own people were watching them lose a battle. The fear that held their empire together was starting to crack. Sir, another Kavari officer reported, half our ships are asking permission to retreat. We do not retreat, Thexan shouted. The Kavari Empire does not lose to primitives. Then you might want to look at your battle display. So Young Choi's voice cut into the communication channel. Because we just captured your sister ship, Thexan looked at his screens in horror. The Kavari ship Dominator was floating dead in space. Human shuttles were attached to it like parasites. His crew was being systematically removed and placed in escape pods. What are you doing to our people? He demanded. We are letting them go. Dong Hyun Oh's voice replied. We do not want to rule your empire, Commander. We just want you to leave us alone. But first, So Young added, You are going to send a message to the Kavari home planet. You are going to tell them that humans have arrived in this area, and that any Kavari ship that threatens human colonies will be destroyed. I will never do such a thing, Thekzan said. Yes, you will, Yunbi Lim's voice cut in, because we just captured 3 more of your ships and we are coming for yours next. Thekzan looked around his bridge. His officers were staring at him with expressions he had never seen on Kavari faces before. They were afraid, but they were not afraid of the humans, they were afraid of him. They were afraid that his pride would get them all killed fighting an enemy they could not defeat. For the first time in his life, Commander Thekzan was experiencing what it felt like to be outmatched, and he discovered that he did not like the feeling at all. Deho worked fast to fix the air system in Cryo Bay 7. His hands moved quickly as he changed the old filters and cleaned the air pipes. For the first time in 15 years, humans were going to fight back against the aliens. The thought made him excited and scared at the same time. The air is clean now, he told Heejin and Wubin. We can wake up 5 people safely. They will not breathe the fear chemicals that make people give up. They had picked 5 people very carefully. So Young Choi was a leader who knew how to organize people and make hard decisions. Jin Wuhan was a scientist who studied alien animals and plants. Miraseo was a military expert who understood weapons and fighting tactics. Hyungmin Jang was an engineer who built things. Yunbi Lim was a pilot who flew shuttles. The cryopods opened slowly with soft hissing sounds. The 5 people sat up, moving slowly and looking confused. Waking up from cryo sleep always made people feel strange for a few hours. Welcome back, Heejin said gently. I know you feel confused, but we need to tell you something very important. So Young Choi was a small woman with smart eyes. She had been chosen to help run the new colony. Where are we? She asked. Did we reach our new planet yet? We have been flying around our new planet for 15 years, Wu Bin said. But we never landed. We have a big problem. They showed the 5 new people everything. The security videos of the bug-like Kavari creatures walking through their ship. The computer records showing that people had been waking up and going back to sleep without doing anything important. The proof that the aliens had been using fear chemicals to control humans. Jin Wuhan looked at the videos of the Kavari very carefully. He was a quiet man who liked to think before talking. These creatures are very interesting, he said. Look how they move. They act like they own everything. They are not used to anyone fighting back. That is because their fear chemicals work on everyone, Miraseo said. She was looking at the ship's weapons on a computer screen. These records show they have taken over many different planets using the same method. They make their enemies too scared to fight. But the chemicals do not work on us, So Young said. Why are we different? Jinwoo smiled. Because we are humans. Our brains work differently from other species. We came from a planet where we had to hunt animals that were bigger and stronger than us. When other animals got scared, they would hide or run away. But humans kept chasing their prey for days and days. When other species feel fear, they stop moving. But humans often get more focused when they are afraid. You mean we are built to never give up? Deho asked. More than that, Jinwoo explained. Humans have always been the species that does not know when to quit. When something threatens us, especially our families, we do not get paralyzed by fear. We get angry. We get determined. We hunt it down. The ship's communication system made a crackling sound. Then the insect-like voice of the aliens filled the room. Human creatures, the voice said. We are Kavari Commander Thekzan. We have watched your species for 15 of your years. We know you are weak and afraid. You will give up to us now. Your ship will belong to us. Your people will work for us. The voice stopped for a moment, then continued. We will show you what happens to species that fight against us. Look at your screens. All the monitors in the room suddenly showed terrible pictures. Cities burning on alien worlds. Creatures that had once looked proud and strong were now crawling on the ground, too scared to stand up. Whole civilizations had been turned into slaves. This is what happens to those who do not obey us, Thekzan said. Your choice is simple. Give up now or suffer the same terrible fate. The 8 humans looked at each other. The aliens expected them to be terrified now. They expected the humans to beg for mercy and promise to obey. Instead, Hyojin walked over to the communication controls and pressed the talk button. Hello, Commander Thekzan, she said in a calm, polite voice. Thank you for showing us those pictures. They taught us a lot. We understand now that you rule by making people afraid and have taken over many planets this way. There was silence from the alien ship. They were clearly waiting for the humans to surrender. However, Hyejin continued, we have decided that we will be taking our planet now. You can leave peacefully, or we can force you to leave. The choice is yours. The silence went on for a long time. When Thexan spoke again, his voice sounded confused and surprised. You have seen our power. You have seen what we do to those who fight us. Why are you not afraid of us? So young Choi stepped forward and spoke into the microphone. Because we are humans, and humans protect their families. This cannot be possible, Thexan said. All species fear us. Our fear weapons have never failed before. Well, Daeho said with a smile, I guess there is a first time for everything. You are making a big mistake, the Kavari commander said. His voice was getting louder and more angry. We will destroy you. We will make examples of you. Other species will see what happens to those who fight the Kavari Empire. Good luck with that, Miraseo said. She had been quietly working on the ship's weapons while the others talked. By the way, you might want to check your sensors. We just turned on every weapon this ship has. The 8 humans could feel the shock coming from the alien ships. No species had ever responded to their threats this way. No species had ever turned on weapons while talking to them. Jinwoo, So Young said quietly, how many other colony ships are coming from Earth? At least 12 more ships in the next 50 years, Jinwoo answered. Each one carrying 50,000 humans. And Wubin, So Young continued, how many humans live on Earth right now? About 10 billion people, Wubin replied. So Young smiled and spoke into the microphone again. Commander Thexan, I think there is something you should understand about humans. We do not travel alone. When you attack one human colony, you are not just fighting 50,000 people. You are declaring war on 10 billion humans who will spend their lives hunting you down. That cannot be possible, Thexan said. No species fights for other groups of their own kind across such long distances. Other species do not, Jinwoo said. But humans do. We call it humanity. It is why we named ourselves after it. The communication channel went quiet. The Kavari were trying to understand something that had never happened before in their long history of taking over planets. They had woken up something that did not respond to fear the way they expected. I think, Daeho said quietly, we should wake up more people, a lot more people. I agree, So Young said. We are going to need everyone awake for what happens next. Mira was already making plans. We need to turn this ship into a fortress. The manufacturing bays can make weapons. The shuttles can be armed for fighting. Every person who wakes up needs to know how to fight. How long do we have? Kyungmin asked. Not long, Yunbi said, looking at her pilot controls. Their ships are moving into attack positions. The Kavari Empire had ruled through fear for thousands of years. Every species they met became too scared to fight back. But they had just made contact with a species that became more dangerous when it was threatened. And now 50,000 humans were about to wake up. 50,000 humans who had been looking forward to building a peaceful colony were about to discover that alien bugs had been treating them like laboratory animals for 15 years. The Kavari had no idea what they had started. The ship came alive with noise and activity. Daeho and his team had worked for 3 days without stopping. They cleaned air systems and opened cryopods all over the new Sol. Now thousands of people were waking up and learning what had happened to them. The hallways filled with confused but angry humans. They had gone to sleep expecting to wake up on their new planet. Instead, they learned that alien bugs had been treating them like pets in a zoo for 15 years. Kyungmin Jang was one of the first engineers to understand the situation completely. He was a big man with strong hands who had built bridges and roads on Earth. Now he was looking at the ship's factory. Machines with a determined expression. We can change these machines to make weapons, he told So Young Choi. The mining equipment we brought for the colony can be turned into cannons. The construction robots can be programmed to fight. How long will that take? So Young asked. Give me 2 days, Kyungmin said. Maybe less if those bug creatures give us enough time. But the Kavari were not giving them time. Commander Thexan was using every fear weapon his people had developed over thousands of years. He sent recordings of creatures screaming in pain from worlds they had conquered. He broadcast pictures of torture and death. He played sounds that were supposed to drive other species crazy with terror. The humans listened to all of this for about 10 minutes. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of becoming afraid, they became angry. Very, very angry. Yunbi Lim had been a shuttle pilot. She was supposed to fly survey missions on their new planet. Now she was getting the ship's shuttles ready for war. These ships were not built for fighting, she told Mirasio, but I can turn them into attack craft if I have to. Do whatever you need to do, Mira replied. She was organizing the ship's defenses and studying the Kavari fleet through the sensors. They have more ships than us, but their vessels are designed to scare weak enemies. They are not built for real fighting. The fear attacks from the aliens kept getting worse. Thexan began broadcasting the sounds of dying creatures from his previous battles. The screams and cries were meant to break the spirit of any species that heard them. The humans listened to these horrible sounds for exactly 10 minutes. Then Haye Jin made an announcement over the ship's communication system. "Attention everyone," she said. "The aliens are trying to scare us with recordings of their victims. I think it is time we showed them what human fear tactics sound like." What happened next shocked the Kavari more than anything in their long history. Every speaker on the human ship began playing music that the aliens had never heard before. It was loud, aggressive music from Earth mixed with Korean war songs and the sounds of human armies marching into battle. The Kavari had never heard anything like it. The music was not the sound of victims crying for help. It was the sound of predators getting ready to hunt. "What is that terrible noise?" Thexan demanded over the communication channel. "That is human music," Hyejin replied cheerfully. "We play it when we are getting ready to fight." "Do you like it?" "It is disturbing," the Kavari commander said. "Oh, this is nothing," Deho said. "Wait until you hear what we play during actual fighting." The fear war continued, but not the way the Kavari expected. They sent pictures of their biggest weapons. The humans responded by broadcasting videos from their own history. Humans fighting in wars. Humans climbing dangerous mountains. Humans doing things that no sane creature would ever try. "Your species is completely insane," Thexan said after watching videos of humans jumping out of aircraft just for fun. "Yeah, we hear that a lot," So Young replied. The Kavari tried harder. They broadcast images of planets they had destroyed completely. They showed cities turned to ash and entire species wiped out. They expected the humans to realize how hopeless their situation was and surrender. Instead, the humans began broadcasting their own messages to the Kavari fleet. They played recordings of human children laughing and families having dinner together. They sent pictures of their new planet with its blue oceans and green lands. "This is what we are protecting," So Young said over the communication channel. "This is why we will never surrender to you." Finally, the Kavari decided to end the fear war and start real fighting. They attacked one of the outer sections of the human ship with a powerful energy weapon. The blast tore through the metal hull and destroyed an entire storage area. The Kavari waited for the humans to beg for mercy. This was always the moment when other species would give up, crying and asking for their lives to be spared. Instead, So Young Choi's voice came over the communication channel. Her voice was calm and cold as ice. "Commander Thexan," she said, "you have just fired on a human civilian ship. You have just declared war on the human species. This is your only warning. Leave our system now or we will show you why every predator on Earth learned to fear humans. You cannot threaten us." Thexan shouted. "We are the Kavari Empire. We have conquered 1,000 worlds, and we are humans," So Young replied. "We conquered an entire planet full of creatures that were bigger, stronger, and faster than us, and we did it with nothing but sharp sticks and determination." The communication channel went silent. In the Kavari fleet, Thexan was feeling something his species had never experienced before: confusion. For thousands of years, their fear tactics had worked perfectly. Every species surrendered at this point, but humans were not surrendering. They were making threats back. They were playing war music. They were acting like hunters instead of prey. "Sir," one of Thexan's officers said nervously, "maybe we should call for more ships?" "More ships?" Thexan snarled. "Against one vessel full of primitives? We have 20 ships to their one." "Yes, sir," the officer said. "But they do not act like other primitives." On the human ship, the preparations were almost complete. Kyungmin had finished turning mining equipment into weapons. "The kinetic cannons are ready," he announced. "They are not pretty, but they will punch holes in alien ships." "Shuttles are armed and ready for battle," Yunbi reported. "I have volunteer pilots standing by." "Communications are ready," Heejin said. "I can block their signals or broadcast on any frequency they use." So Young looked around at her fellow humans. 50,000 people who had planned to build a peaceful farming colony were now preparing for war. They should have been terrified. Any other species would have been paralyzed with fear. Instead, they looked eager to fight. "Jinwoo," she said to the scientist, "what do you think the Kavari are feeling right now?" Jinwoo smiled. "Confusion, fear. They have never met a species that fights back. They are used to being the scariest thing in any star system." "Well," Daeho said, checking his engineering systems one more time, "they are about to learn something new about humans." Around the ship, 50,000 humans were preparing for battle. They had woken up expecting to plant crops and build homes. Instead, they were loading weapons and planning attacks. And they were not afraid. The Kavari Empire was about to discover what humans meant when they said they were hunters. They were about to learn why humanity had spread across Earth by defeating everything bigger and scarier than themselves. They were about to meet the species that had nightmares about them. The cryopod opened with a soft hiss. Taeho Kim sat up slowly, his head spinning from the long sleep. Something felt wrong. The ship sounded different. The air smelled strange. After 6 months in cryo sleep, he should feel refreshed, but instead he felt worried. He climbed out of the pod and looked around the medical bay. Everything looked normal. The lights were on. The machines were working. But the ship felt empty and quiet. Too quiet. Daeho was an engineer on the colony ship New Seoul. His job was to fix things during the long trip to their new planet. The ship carried 50,000 people to Kepler 442b, their new home. Most people stayed asleep in cryopods while small crews took turns staying awake to keep the ship running. He walked to the nearest computer and checked his work schedule. What he saw made his blood turn cold. According to the computer, they had reached their destination planet 15 years ago. 15 years. That was impossible. When they arrived, they should have started waking everyone up to build their new colony. But they were still in space, orbiting the planet like they were waiting for something. Daeho ran through the empty hallways looking for other people. His footsteps echoed loudly in the silence. The ship was huge, designed to be a city in space during their long journey. Now it felt like a ghost town. He finally found 2 people in the main control room. Heejin Park sat at her communications desk staring at a blank screen. She looked tired and scared. Woobin Lee stood beside her. He was the head of security, a big man who usually looked confident. Now he looked confused and worried. "Thank God you are awake," Heejin said when she saw him. "We have been trying to understand what happened here." "Something is very wrong," Woobin nodded. "We have been orbiting the planet for 15 years. But we never started the colony. We never even sent a message to Earth to tell them we arrived safely." Daeho felt his heart beating faster. "Why not? What stopped us?" "That is what we are trying to find out," Heejin said. "I looked at all the communication records. Every few months, people wake up from cryosleep to do maintenance work. But they only do basic repairs. They do not do anything important. Then they go back to sleep." "Look at this," Woobin said. He turned on a screen that showed security camera footage. "I found this in the old recordings." The screen showed a corridor inside the ship. It was dark because it was nighttime on the ship's schedule. Suddenly, shadows moved across the screen. But these were not human shadows. They were tall and thin with too many arms. "What are those things?" Daeho asked. "I do not know," Woobin said. "But they have been coming onto our ship for years. Watch this." He showed more footage. The creatures looked like giant insects that walked on 2 legs. They had 4 arms and shiny hard skin like armor. They moved quietly through the ship carrying strange tools and devices. In some videos, Daeho could see them going into the cryo bays where people were sleeping. They took samples and attached small devices to the sleeping humans. "They have been studying us," Heejin said quietly. "While we sleep, they come on board and examine us. They have been doing this for 15 years. Daeho felt sick. Why did nobody stop them? The people who woke up before us, why did they not fight back? Woobin shook his head. That is the strange part. I found personal logs from the previous crews. They all wrote about feeling hopeless when they saw these creatures. They wrote things like, there is no point in fighting and we should just accept what happens to us. But I do not feel that way. Do you? Daeho thought about it. He was scared, yes, but he was also angry. He wanted to fight these creatures. He wanted to protect the sleeping people. No, I want to stop them. So do I, Hyejin said. But why are we different from the other crews? They spent hours looking through the ship's records. Deho checked every system and every repair log. Finally, he found something important. "Look at this maintenance report," he said, pointing at his screen. "Our cryo bay had a problem with the air recycling system 3 days ago. The computer mixed outside air with the recycled air from our pods." "What does that mean?" Wu Bin asked. "It means we were breathing different air than we were supposed to," Deho explained. "What if these alien creatures use some kind of gas or chemical to make people afraid? What if that is how they control everyone?" Haijin's eyes went wide. "That would explain everything. Every species they meet becomes too scared to fight back. They rule by making people afraid. But we did not breathe their fear gas because our air system was broken," Deho said. "So we can still think clearly and want to fight." They looked at each other in silence. 50,000 people were sleeping in the ship, trusting them to keep everyone safe. But only 3 people knew about the danger, and only 3 people could think clearly enough to do something about it. "We need to wake up more people," Wu Bin said. "But we have to be careful. We need to wake them up where the air is clean so they can think clearly too." "I can fix the air recyclers in Cryo Bay 7, Deho said. "We can wake up some people there and see if they can resist the fear chemicals like we can." "Who should we wake up?" Heijin asked. "People who can help us," Wu Bin said. "Scientists, engineers, soldiers. We need people who know how to solve difficult problems." As they made their plans, the ship's communication system suddenly came alive. A voice spoke in a strange language that sounded like clicking and hissing, like insects trying to talk. Then the voice changed to English. The words came slowly and carefully, like someone reading from a book. "Human creatures," the voice said. "We are the Kavari. We know you are awake. Do not be afraid. We will not hurt you if you obey us. You will be good specimens for our studies. Your species will serve us like all the others have." The 3 humans looked at each other. The voice expected them to be afraid now. They were supposed to give up and accept their fate like every other species had done. But Deho felt something different growing inside him. It was not fear. It was anger. These creatures had been treating his people like laboratory animals for 15 years. They thought humans would just give up without a fight. "How many ships do they have out there?" he asked quietly. Wu Bin checked his sensors. "At least 20 ships. Maybe more." 20 ships full of these bug creatures," Haijin said, "and they think 3 humans are just going to surrender." Deho smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who was about to do something dangerous and was looking forward to it. "They do not know humans very well, do they?" he said. The Kavari had ruled through fear for thousands of years. Their psychological weapons had worked on every species they had ever met. Fear made creatures freeze up or run away. Fear made them give up before the fighting even started. But the Kavari had never met humans before. And humans, when they were angry and protecting their families, were not the kind of creatures that gave up easily. The bug creatures had made a big mistake. They had given the humans time to wake up, time to get angry, time to start planning. The real war was about to begin, and the Kavari had no idea what they had gotten themselves into.